Welcome to the Campfire. This week we're taking a deep dive into 15-6A. The teams in this district are Klein, Klein-Cain, Klein-Collins, Klein-Forest, Klein-Oak, Magnolia, Magnolia West, Tomball, and Tomball Memorial. Now let's analyze this district in our Randall's Film Session. 15-6A has been composed of squads from Klein and Tomball ISD, but this year the Magnolia programs are moving up to make this a 9-team district. Magnolia West was a third-place finisher in their 5A district and return experience behind center in Bryson Broadway. Magnolia finished 9-3 and in second place a year ago, and hopes running back Colin Leahy will lead the way to a successful debut in 6A. As for teams that remain from the old 15-6A, you can never look past Klein-Collins. The Tigers graduated many, but their linebacker core with Luis Vasquez and Trent Spence will carry a solid defense. Tomball Memorial finishing right behind Collins in the standings, but the district's offensive MVP, Aiden Martin, is back as the Wildcats signal caller. Klein-Cain returns the defensive newcomer of the year, DJ Mooring, while Klein-Forest returns sack leader, TJ Burkhalter, to its defensive line. And then there's Tomball. The Cougs the past couple of years have built a reputation of turning it on in the playoffs, and last year was no exception. After a 6-4 regular season, Tomball went 3 rounds deep in the playoffs. Meanwhile, Klein Oak's Justin Hart is one of the best returning receivers in this district, while Klein will look to wideout Adrian Skipper to help pick up a few wins in this tough district.
The Film Session is brought to you by Randall's. Find these great items on the Chevrolet Inside High School Sports End Cap and take your shopping game to the next level. Chevrolet Inside High School Sports is brought to you by the Houston area Chevy dealers. Together, let's drive.
And for an even deeper look at 15-6A, here's producer Ward Fasold and the Houston Chronicle's John Poorman with another district breakdown.
All right, it's time for another district breakdown. John Poorman from the Houston Chronicle joins us as we're talking 15-6A. An interesting district that they've now brought in 2 teams that are perennial 5A playoff contenders in Magnolia and Magnolia West. Now they're jump up to 6A and see if they can get in the postseason there. This 9-team district looks like it's going to be a battle to the end to get those 4 spots, right, John?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, as you mentioned, the intriguing thing here is the addition of the Magnolia schools who have had a lot of success in Class 5A over the years and making the playoffs year after year, both of those programs out there in West Montgomery County. It's going to be interesting to see how they transition to 6A ball for sure. It was a big question about where those schools were going to end up, which district they were going to be paired with. They end up in this district with the Tomball schools and the Klein schools, and I think it's a good fit because year after year we see that this is a really competitive district, and they're gonna be in for a battle. It's gonna be a tough one, but at the same time, these Magnolia schools were playing with one of the top 5A districts, certainly in the Houston area and maybe the state. The past couple of years down there with Angleton and Fulshire and those guys. So, they're definitely going to bring competitive programs to this district, and it's gonna be a battle for these 4 playoff spots.
All right. Well, next week we're going to talk 16-6A, which is where Waller actually ended up, and actually I think 16-6A is probably a little happier because they lose Cy Falls, but they gain Waller, so that may open up a playoff spot there for somebody. But we'll talk about the Cypress teams next week.
Sounds good.
We'll post the entire breakdown segment this Wednesday on our social media pages. Now, let's take a look at some game changers in our Players on the Rise, presented by Parker University. The offensive MVP in this district is back as Aiden Martin returns as Tomball Memorial's gunslinger. A dual threat, Martin had more than 3,000 total yards. He threw for 2,400 with 32 touchdowns, while rushing for 571 and 6 more scores. With his favorite target, Ashton Ansley, though, moving up to North Texas, Martin may have to rely on his legs that much more. A defensive back that district quarterbacks should stay away from is Cortland Guillory of Klein Oak. The talented cornerback had 7 pass breakups and an interception his sophomore year, and then built on that last year. He's been one of the fastest rising recruits this offseason and recently committed to Oklahoma. You can't have a much better junior season than Klein Force TJ Burkhalter had a year ago. The defensive lineman just decimated the line of scrimmage, tallying 71 tackles and a district-leading 12 sacks in 2023. Burkhalter also had 23 tackles for loss and forced 2 fumbles. Oh, on special teams, he blocked 3 kicks as well. Look for more eye-popping stats for Burkhalter as a senior. Klein Cain's Trent Lancaster is a 2-time first-team all-district selection at linebacker. Last season led the district with 129 tackles, meaning Trent can flat out get to the ball carrier, then bring him down. He also had 36 tackles for loss and forced 2 fumbles while recovering 5. The Hurricanes can expect more ferocious hits from Lancaster as a senior.
Players on the Rise is brought to you by Parker University. Do you or your student want a career training the world's best athletes? Check out our bachelor's degree in strength and human performance today.
Our Ward Fasold catching up with a head coach in this district to talk about his team in our Media Day segment.
All right, it's Media Day. We are talking with James Clancy at Klein Cain. And Coach Clancy, we got a 15-6A that a lot of it's familiar. I mean, you guys have been fighting out for playoff spots all the time, but you bring in 2 highly successful 5A Magnolia schools in that have made the playoffs religiously. They're now in, making it even more difficult to get one of those spots. Just maybe give me your overall overview of this district.
You know, obviously, I'm biased, but I've always felt that, 15-6A top to bottom was one of the most competitive, toughest district around. And then obviously adding 2 quality programs like Magnolia and Magnolia West is only going to make that road to get that 11th game that much tougher. And not just in football. I mean, just across the board. I mean, look at in all sports, it's going to be extremely competitive.
It's a luxury to have 2 first-team receivers coming back, and Blaine Bullard and Max. Talk about, especially Blaine, he's the unanimous selection coming back. Talk about those guys.
They're great kids, man. They're both of them 3-year lettermen, 3-year starters. Right along with Trent, Lancaster. Those guys have been producing, for our program for multiple seasons, and it's just you get them to their senior year, and as a coach, you just kind of obviously you want to make sure that you put the best plan together for them to have success, but you also want to enjoy that amount of time that you've spent together.
All right, Coach, I appreciate you joining us, man, and we can't wait to see you guys take the field in August.
Yes, sir. Anytime. I appreciate you.
And you can catch the entire interview Friday on our social media channels. That's going to do it for this week's Campfire. Next week, we're analyzing 16-6A. Until then, have a great week, everybody.